So how would you explain it to another business owner about why reviews are important and what they mean?
Audience needs to realize that Google it's not officially a monopoly, but 90% of people use Google search engine to find their things. So you got to play nice with Google, because if that's, majority of where, people go for your search engines, you want to be on like where people are going for your search engine.
Welcome back to the Built Local podcast. Today we have Savannah from the Savvy Sitter in Orlando, Florida on the podcast today. We're going to talk pet sitting. We're going to talk reviews. We're going to talk growing a business in the pet industry. So Savannah, how are you doing today?
Nice and cool compared to the summer, I would have to say. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. She told me, she was like, yeah, it's 88 today, which is a lot better than the feels like 112 it was all summer. So it's like, yeah, that's Florida for you. I'm a little bit further north in Florida, but it's still warm. So yeah, glad to hear you're getting a little bit cooler weather. Yeah. So if anybody who doesn't know who you are or doesn't know what the Savvy Sitter is, give us a little bit of overview about you and your story.
Sure. So I'm Savannah Westwood with the Savvy Sitter Pet Sitting and Dog Walking LLC. We are located west of Orlando in Winter Garden, Windermere, and Horizon West, Florida. We've been in business for 10 years officially of this past June. And we care for all creatures, great and small. So that ranges from everything from tiny fish guppies to Grand Prix show horses and everything in between. But our bread and butter is dogs and cats mostly. So.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. And you just celebrated 10 years in business, right?
10 years in business.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So take us back. I always like to talk about why pet sitting. What got you into the Savvy Sitter in the first place?
I jokingly say divine intervention. So I formerly worked at a startup company that worked in the logistics industry. So I was able to move people from, point A to point B on an international level, everything from commercial to household goods. Parted ways with that company and basically started another business, which evolved into pet sitting and dog walking, thus the Savvy Sitter. And, I keep walking the dogs and petting the kitties, and I just keep going.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And so our audience is a lot of poop scoopers, so pet waste removal. We have some pet sitters and lots of home service businesses as well. And so go back to the early days when you were starting your pet sitting business. You said it didn't really start as pet sitting. How did it kind of morph into pet sitting?
So I was actually starting a business as a professional organizer.
Okay.
The problem was people that are not organized are not consistent. So that was hard to get consistent work in that field, but I did have availability. And I was really good with animals. So people were reaching out for me for that. So that's kind of how that started. A lot of it was word of mouth. So, and to link it back to the reviews section of your business, reviews are always important. Word of mouth is great. It's the best tool out there. However, not everyone is going to, have the same clients as you and that same reach, but reviews are important to have. So.
Yeah, for sure. Reviews can kind of be like digital word of mouth. And the great thing about, you tell your friend, hey, I recommend Savannah. She did a great job keeping our cats or dogs. That's a one-on-one interaction, right? It's not going anywhere else. The cool thing about a review is that, and I'll just be transparent, that's probably more powerful than a review. But the cool thing is with a review, it's going to stay on Google and hundreds or thousands of people will see it for years to come. And so that is really awesome to touch on there. But when it comes to pet sitting in general, when did it kind of click that like, oh, this is a real business? Because I think a lot of people think of pet sitting as like side hustle or, so when did it kind of click like, oh, this is a legit thing?
How much time do you have for me to get on my soapbox?
Come on the soapbox.
Okay. So technically the industry itself is about 30 years old. So we actually had somebody at our summit that started the business in the 90s, and she's still active in the field and the business itself. Jokingly, her nickname is the Queen of Conferences in our industry. So she attends every conference she can and speaks on that behalf.
Real quick, if you're a local business owner and you want to start getting customers from Google, you know how important Google reviews are. Every week, I talk to business owners just like you across hundreds of industries who know reviews matter, but never seem to have the time or the system in place to actually get them. That's exactly why I've spent the last 2 years building Review Harvest. We built it with a non-tech savvy business owner in mind, so anybody can set it up in minutes and start getting reviews today. It automates the process of getting real reviews from your customers, responding to those reviews, and repurposing them across your website and across your social media platforms. platforms. It's a set it and forget it software. You can get it all set up in about 10 minutes and you never have to worry about reviews again. We can integrate into the tools you're already using so you don't have to change a thing. You don't have to train your team on how to request reviews. You don't have to request them manually. You get customers, we get you reviews. It's simple as that. And the first play in our playbook is what we call a review reactivation. You probably have hundreds or thousands of previous customers who loved your service but never left your review. So a lot of times our users can double or even triple their reviews just in the first couple months of working with us when we do that review reactivation.
We definitely notice a trend with the pet care industry as a whole, especially I'm actually writing a book on this, pre-COVID and post-COVID in pet care. So pre-COVID, we weren't really seen as, quote, professional in the aspect. It's, as you said, the side hustle. And we call that in our field hobbyists. So these are people that is like, oh, I can pet, dogs and feed a cat, no problem. But it's more than that now. It's transitioning to that more professional career standard, like in that aspect. People use a lot of the tech platforms, which one of them actually went bankrupt because of I surprised you, didn't I?
Yeah, wow.
So they went bankrupt because there was, from my understanding, not enough pet sitters and also not enough clientele, which, it was a correlation of, hey, I don't have enough people to, work, I need to go somewhere else to like get consistent care. And, they take about 20 to 40% of, what you're making from that.
Yeah.
So if you're walking a dog for like, let's say $20, what's 20% of 20? Like,
$4.
yeah,
Yeah.
$4.
Yeah.
That's not on top of your gas and taxes. And,
Yeah.
most people aren't aware with the pet care industry. If you're working on those platforms, you are an independent contractor. And
Yeah.
as such, you need to have, your insurance, your own LLC or S Corp or some sort of business license. And not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
So, or do that. And, it's up to them to, do that for themselves. The platforms are not going to check for you.
Yeah, for sure. And most people don't know there's like professional certifications for pet sitting, right?
Yes. So going back to kind of the pre and post COVID. So obviously 2020, you know, basically the shelters got cleared out pretty
Mm.
much. Everyone was staying at home. They got a pet, and the problem was when people went back to work, like, well, now I have this dog that I haven't really left, for 6 to 8 months at a time, up to a year. We call them pandemic pets,
Yeah.
jokingly. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of behavioral issues like social anxiety and stuff like that. Like before that, people wouldn't blink an eye, excuse me, about, leaving their pet for 8 hours at a time,
Yeah.
usually the work day. But now, we're seeing more focus on pet care. Fluffy has a limp, I'm going to take him to the vet versus, that could be held off before COVID. Post COVID is like, I immediately going to take him to the vet. It's high quality food like farmer's dogs, which you never heard of before that, and Sundays and, all these high-end CBD for pets and red laser therapy and chiropractic. Like you never heard of these things for pets and stuff like that prior to that. But
Yeah.
now pets are definitely being so more as family members. So therefore you want very high professional quality peace of mind care.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So it's transitioned from pre-COVID, it was like keep the pets alive to now it's
Mhm.
like, these are a family member. I should treat them as if they're a kid and we're gonna make sure they have the best food and care and whatever.
Yes.
And so has that been great for the industry? Has that been great for like them looking for more professional pet sitters and stuff like that?
Well, I think it definitely elevates the standard of what is a professional pet sitter. And, it was kind of again seen as like a side gig, like get the neighborhood kid next door to, or the neighborhood kid or a college kid with their own in town, which they still exist. Don't get me wrong. But, when they go back to college, you're kind of, what are you going to do? But yes, so we do have these certifications. So like there's fear free certification, SI, which is Pet Sitters International. It's one of the oldest and associations in the industry. They do have certifications for that. NAPS as well, which is a nonprofit association as well. I believe they have education and certification as well. There's Pet First Aid and CPR. There's a couple of different businesses that do that, including the Red Cross. I know at one time UCF actually was offering a course or a seminar on how to start your own professional pet sitting and dog walking company. And for
Wow.
those of you who are not from Florida, that is University of Central Florida, which is one of the largest universities in the nation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, UCF is massive. It's got like 70,000 students or something.
80.
80,000. Jeez
Yeah.
Louise. Yeah. So that's awesome. I
Yeah.
guess how do most people find you for pet sitting? How do most people find your business when they're looking for a pet sitter?
So top three things that how they normally find us is word of mouth. And that is both on a physical and a digital front. So we
Mhm.
have a lot of social media groups here, basically on Facebook, community pages where people ask, like, I need a pet sitter, I need a dog walker, I need a vet, or whatever. I get tagged in those a lot and I comment, obviously, myself. However, the big thing that I do differently compared to my competitors and colleagues is I'm not saying pick me. I am saying here are some questions you should be asking a pet sitter and dog walker and when you should be
Mhm.
scheduling services, because
Yeah.
we do want to elevate that standard of, like, here's some questions that you should ask. Like, do they have insurance?
Yeah.
Are they licensed, bonded, and insured? Do they have staff members? Like, is it an IC or is it an employee? How much
Mhm.
training do they have? Do they have pet first aid and CPR certification? What
Mhm.
happens in an emergency situation? What, those
Yeah.
kinds of questions. And then also, again, Google has always been a very prominent, way for us to get clients as well. So,
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so mainly find you from digital and person to person, word of mouth, and
mhm.
then Google. And then once somebody does say, yes, I want to work with y'all, what is your customer experience normally like?
So we always start with what's called a meet and greet. It's kind of a split on in the industry if this should be a paid thing or not. I pay. I want payment before I come out there because it is taking my time, my expertise. You're not just getting the chance to meet me, I'm getting the chance to meet you. But on
Mhm.
top of that, we come into situations where it's a new puppy owner, for example, or someone that just moved into the area and, like, here's some suggestions that I would, look into, like, oh, I've never heard of a snuffle rug or a snuffle mat or a puzzle or what's feel away spray,
Mm.
or like, who do you recommend for a vet or a groomer? Like, I'm going to leave you with resources and stuff behind, especially if you're
Mm.
new to the area. Like, here are my preferred partners and recommendations. And if you want to proceed with that, but it also gives us a chance to interact with the family and the animal at hand. It also kind of, if we can kind of see for things, for example, if the dog's a little bit shy or, a little bit nervous, we would always kind of encourage, if you're wanting us to proceed with services, I would recommend that we come several more times before, like, the big trip, for example, or you being home, just so they have that comfort of you being there and us being there and that positive association instead of us coming in blind. I personally will never send one of my team members blind into a dog because you don't know how they're going to react.
Yeah.
And then some cats too, because they will pull like a Jekyll and Hyde personality as well.
Yeah.
I have been chased out of the house by 2 different cats in my career.
Oh my
So,
gosh. Oh my word. Okay, wow. Okay, so basically it's a consultation. You're saying
yes.
like not only is it like, hey, is this a good fit? Are we gonna be able to help you out when you're going, but you're also saying like here's some ways you should probably take care of your animal.
Yeah. And also we can look at some behavior stuff because we do deal with some dogs, again, post COVID, that do have some behavioral problems like social separation anxiety, maybe some stranger danger reaction, which is fair. But also, it helps us kind of keep safety if we notice, for example, all right, we're getting a little bit of tail tucking, whale eyed look, that might be, a no go for us unless we can consistently provide care and build that relationship. For us, it's all about relationship building too. It's like we want to be like the fun aunt, that
Mhm.
come, or uncle. I do have a male team member now
Yeah.
that comes over and is reliable and they're going to have a good time, but also knowledgeable. I had a situation this morning where I walked in, the owner was home. His name's Moose, but he's a German Shepherd, so he's quite
Yeah.
big. And I
Yeah.
noticed immediately when he was trotting up and barking and all excited, ready to go for his daily walk, I'm like, we can't take him. And the owner looks at me kind of stunned, like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "He's limping on the front left leg." And she's looking at him and it's like, "I'm not seeing it." So I went to the other side of the house and called him and she saw it. And I'm just like, he's not putting any pressure on that front leg. His head's
Mhm.
bobbing, which is a horse, fine thing if the head's bobbing pretty badly and, you see that limp, there's something wrong.
Mm.
So as pet sitters, we kind of have to be like the jack of all trades. We're not vets, but we
Yeah.
know more than the average person, as far
Yeah.
as animal care. We're not groomers, but I'm like, hey, Fluffy might need a bath here in a little bit. We're pet waste people to a point because, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's something in the stool that you might want to take a look at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. So, I mean, that's just anybody listening to this, it's pet sitting or is starting a pet sitting business, or they've done it kind of on the side. You can hear what it's like from a professional, right? It's like it's a whole other ballgame, right? There's so many things that you're looking at and taking into account that just the Joe Schmo down the street isn't going to notice
Yeah.
or care about sometimes.
Another thing that I like to point out to people that it always seems to shock a lot of people is we are probably one of two industries that go into the house unsupervised.
Mm,
The only other company that our industry I know of is house cleaning. And even then, I know some clients that will stay home to
yeah.
oversee the house cleaners. I do
Yeah.
have some clients that work from home, but sometimes they're not home. So
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
to go in. So,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Gotcha. And so, what for somebody listening about starting a pet sitting business or adding this on as a service if they have a pet care business, what is kind of like how long did it take you to kind of ramp up the business? You're like, wow, this is a legitimate business that can
Mhm.
support me and my family, and I can have employees for. I mean, did it take years to get to that point, or did you realize in a couple months or years that this was like, okay, this is a legit business. I'll be able to do this full time.
So I think a timeline would probably be a better good questions, but
Okay.
it's always going to be different for somebody, different people. I know for me that I had an independent contractor first, like probably
Mhm.
within year 1 or 2, because I accidentally double booked myself. And
Mm.
I transitioned to, having independent contractors just because that's something I was familiar with, and pulling the trigger with employees was a bit scary. But I had consistent growth going
Mm.
forward to the point I actually had to reduce my service area because I had a lot of people inquiring from one area, not so much in the other. So that's
Mhm.
something to consider, with pet sitting is not just, how many can I get to, is how many can I get to in a timely manner. And
Okay.
then COVID happened, obviously. So my business was 5 years old when COVID
Yeah.
hit. And obviously that took every business took a major dip. August is one of our slowest months I noticed historically, but in 2020 that was actually my one of my most profitable months because that's when things were starting to relax a little bit and people were getting a little stir crazy and all that fun stuff. And then about probably the 1 or 2 years, I would say I started picking up with ICs again. 2 years ago, I transitioned to employees and I have a staff of 8 currently.
Wow. Wow,
So
incredible. Incredible, and what percentage of y'all's business is sitting and people that are gone overnight versus just daily dog walking and stuff like that?
So I would say about we see a good portion of our services is majority pet sitting. Right now in the industry, it's hard to get those consistent dog walking clients. So when I say consistent, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, we do have those clients that we see kind of, once or twice a week, consistently or inconsistently. I know from at least through my network is getting consistent dog walking clients is the diamond in the rough, so to say. It's one of probably the harder things to do because people are working hybrids or something like that now, or working from home, so they're
Yeah.
not needing us our services as much.
Hey, real quick, before we get back to the video, if you're a local business owner and you're serious about getting more customers from Google, I want to invite you to our free school community linked down below. Inside, you'll get weekly coaching calls where I can personally help you one-on-one so you're never stuck wondering what to do next to get more customers. Once you join, we'll give you a custom-built ranking report to show you exactly how you're ranking against your competitors, and then we'll even show you the next couple things you can do to start ranking higher. We do all of these reports manually to make sure they're done right. You'll get our 50,000 Google review script, the same script we've used to help hundreds of businesses get over 50,000 reviews, showing you what to say, when to request the review, how to follow up and get that review without being annoying or awkward. And you'll even get a step-by-step checklist on how to optimize your Google Business profile to make sure you're ranking at the top of Google. Sometimes just making a few tweaks on that Google Business profile can be the difference between never showing up on Google and dominating your area. All in all, you'll get access to a community of business owners and experts trying to grow their business just like you. It's a safe space to ask questions and get more tailored one-on-one advice. It's 100% free. I don't have a coaching program or a course to sell you. Just click the link down below, join the community. We'd love to see you inside.
I would say 60% or 70% is mostly pet sitting and dog walking. I
Okay.
don't know a lot of like strictly dog walking company in my area. I know of at least one, but she transitioned from pet sitting a few years ago and does cats. So which is 1 to 2 visits and just does daily dog walks. She won't
Okay.
do vacation clients anymore.
Okay, gotcha. And when it comes to just overall, how many customers or how many customers think you've worked with in the last 10 years?
I couldn't tell you exactly how many for the past 10 years, but I can tell you last year.
Yeah.
So we did about 8,000, over 8,400 visits over for 2024. We walked so many miles that we could walk across the state of Florida, so like Tampa to Daytona,
Yeah.
3.5 times. So that is, how much at least I personally walk apparently. But the yeah, I know you mentioned overnights. That is something the industry as a whole is transitioning out of, at least on a
Mm,
professional level. If you look at it from an employee standpoint, you do have to pay them minimum wage when they're sleeping, and
mm,
obviously time and a half when they hit overtime. So let's say somebody hits, does a 12-hour stint, as an overnight, which is 7 to 7, which is traditionally what's done. You're already hitting overtime by night 4.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Wow, okay, wow. Yeah, that could get pricey, that could get expensive.
oh yeah, and people are not just gone for, 2 or 3 days. I
Yeah.
think the longest client I had, I was there for 19 days.
Wow, geez, okay. Wow, that's something I didn't know about the overnights, that makes sense. So do you personally as the owner, do you do very many overnights or not at all? Are you doing overnight?
So we just recently changed that this year for myself. A good chunk of our money came from overnights last year, and I primarily did them I had an independent contractor that strictly does overnights and overnights only, which
Gotcha.
she enjoys doing. And, I have not been doing them as much because we implemented a VIP program. Basically, what I have found was that when people were calling for overnights, they're kind of like a one and done client.
Mm,
And then when I had established clients that have been with me for, years or a couple of months consistently, they were wanting around the same time. So I
mhm,
already committed to somebody else that was a one and done client versus a client that, I see regularly and that supports me. The other
yeah,
thing too is there's always something that goes wrong or there's, some difficulty because we don't have that relationship with the animal or it's a little bit harder to do that. So it never, not that all of them were bad experiences, but we want to be consistently there for the people that need us and use us regularly and to have that relationship because in case you do need to leave town quickly, you're not having
mhm.
to scramble to, find care.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. No, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then let's go back onto reviews. I think when you got started with Review Harvest, you had around 150 reviews. What were
Mhm.
you doing to get reviews before you got started with Review Harvest?
Originally was kind of asking more personally, just like, hey, I just wanted to see if you would be kind enough to leave a review. These are some keywords that we would love.
Mhm.
You could take a screenshot and just let us know. I'm pretty familiar with Google as far as, how to play the game.
Yeah.
But the just asking consistently, and it was getting to the point of, I'm getting tired of having to ask. And I have also found that, sometimes Google doesn't post the review. Like it'll show on the client's end, but it won't show on my end. So
Mhm.
following up again
Yeah.
in that regards. But yeah, I was sitting at 150, I think it was 136, 150 reviews,
Mm.
and we were closing. I think it was end of April, early May that I reached out. And
Mhm.
I was like, June's our birthday, 10 years. I'm like not even halfway there for hitting that 200 goal by
Yeah.
June. Like it's not the end of the world if I don't hit it by June, but end of 2025 would be great.
Yeah.
And I think we hit that 200 month mark like May 26th, I want to say.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's Google reviews are always nice to see, and like I said, like Google is one of the platforms that we get a lot of our clients from.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for sure. Had you tried any other companies or softwares to request reviews before
I
Review Hub?
have loved the guy dearly, and we tried for I think like end of November of 24. Just
Mm.
wasn't getting any traction. I was getting probably like before I reached out to you, which was almost like 4 to 5, maybe 6 months. I was with him, and I think I got like 25 reviews, and one of them was his, which I see him trying, but I'm like that doesn't count because you didn't use my
Yeah.
service, so
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
like a little bit of a cheat. So.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, now you're sitting at over 214. So you obviously understand the how Google works and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but most business owners still don't quite understand it. So how would you explain it to another business owner about why reviews are important and what they mean?
On Google or just reviews?
On Google specifically, yeah.
So I think the audience needs to realize that Google is it's not officially a monopoly, but 90% of the, I would say
Traffic.
no, no, no. I forget how to phrase this. I don't know if it's the US or at least on the global scale, that 90%, I would say, let's say the US, just to play nice. 90% of people use Google search engine to find their things. I have a Google Pixel. I love that.
Mhm.
I'm a Google head. I love Google. I understand that it's seen as a quote monopoly, but and that's why it's going to potentially Congress and all that fun stuff, because it's seen as a quote a monopoly because it blows competition out of the water. So you got to play nice with Google, because if that's majority of where people go for your search engines, you want to be on like where people are going for your search engine.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And what's been your favorite part about working with Review Harvest so far?
that you integrated with my software system. So if a new client onboarded and used our services, there was usually a follow up, text or email that I didn't have to create or follow up on a couple days after. So it was always nice that I didn't have to like remind myself to do it. And
Yeah,
I think the nice thing that I saw compared to other platforms that use it is that you use a picture of me versus just a straight up text, which can be, spammy to a
yeah,
point, but I get what you're doing. But a picture speaks 1,000 words pretty much. And I think you also personalize it. So it's like, hey, Amy,
yeah,
hey, Charlie,
yeah, yeah,
which is nice because you add the personal touch. But I like the automation in that you do connect with our software and you do get those notifications of, hey, so and so completed their service, wait 3 days and follow up and see how everything was. So
yeah, for sure. Awesome, awesome. Well, what would you tell somebody who's starting their pet sitting business, maybe struggling and trying to grow it? What would you kinda leave them with today to hopefully create a successful business like yourself?
it's funny that you should ask that because I have a new mentee that just was asking me the same question. So we had a 45-minute, hour-long conversation over coffee that I just basically, I'm going to word vomit. So just prepare.
Yeah, get
Yeah,
ready.
get ready. If I had to give one person one piece of advice as far as, starting in this industry is Jesus, there's so many. The one that I submitted was, for Pet Sitter of the Year was it's not no, it's not yet. So you got to be persistent about it pretty much. So it's just go out there, network, talk to people, the big thing is to make sure that you stand apart from other pet sitters. Like, what makes you different from a hobbyist? I
Yeah,
get that. Again, going back to pre and post COVID again, is pre COVID, I was asked, like, you do this full time? This was the question. I'm like, yes, I do this full
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Pretty much blood, sweat, and tears and time. I do this full time. That kind of
yeah,
rhymed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but it is being seen as professional industry, so you do wanna get those professional criterias. So, you do want to, get that to be seen as like with anybody, insurance, you have to get some certifications and stuff like that. Google, you can be a diamond level expert, which there's only 10 in the United States as far
Yeah,
as I'm aware of.
yeah.
So again, those certifications are always very helpful to have as well. So
Yeah, perfect. Awesome, awesome. Well, Savannah, I appreciate you hopping on and shedding some light on the pet sitting industry and just all the things that come with it. I'm sure somebody listening to this that's trying to start their pet sitting business or getting into it learned a whole bunch. So I really appreciate you having hopping on, and you have a great rest of your day.